Yes, what's up? So we continue. Good afternoon, good evening in our case of our students. Good evening. So we continue with the lesson on banking, and now this time we focus on the valuation of stocks and bonds. And check ko lang kung narinig ba ako. Yes, I think so, right? Yeah. So valuations of stocks and bonds. So first of all, napag-usapan na natin yung stocks, no, sa stock market. I hope you watched that. That's a preview of what the stock market is all about. And also, it's also a way for you to focus on investing. Yeah. Yung bonds, ganun din. Although, alam nyo kung tutusin, uh, sa Philippines, talagang hindi sikat itong mga to, yung mga investment. Rather, I mean, compared to other countries, no? Sinabi ko na yun doon sa previous natin, no? Less than 1% in the Philippines invest in the stock market. And you could not even say na it's about money, walang pera kasi yung mga Pinoy. Again, huwag natin pag-usapan yung pandemic, ah. Kasi nung time before the pandemic, ganun din naman eh. Lahat ng values na yan, yung mga numbers na yan, happened before the pandemic. And of course, the pandemic only worsened the situation. And it's not just because of lack of lack of money to invest. Yun yung first, no? Pero kasi ang dami sa atin na nasa middle class, upper middle, maraming kaya mag-invest din. In fact, kahit nga lower middle, basta't may kita ka, napatunayan natin yun, sabi na natin, pwede ka mag-invest. Kahit ang sweldo mo is only 15,000, 12,000 even, mahirap yun, pero doable pa rin yun. Diba? You will have to sacrifice something, no? But as I've proven already in my previous presentation, it's not really about how much you save or invest. It's about how long you've been doing it and how regularly you've been doing it. So ang stocks ay hindi masyadong sikat din sa Philippines. Di lalo na ang bonds. Pag tinanong mo yung any person na Filipino, chances are, pag tinanong mo yung bonds, they would say, bond, di ba yun yung sinong bond? Bond, James Bond, hindi yun. Or they would, consider it as a joke. Or you can even consider na yung bond is the bond paper. Bond paper. Bond paper, ano yan? Substance 20, Substance 16, Substance 24. Copy paper ba yan? Kung tutusin, yung bond paper as it is now, as we know it now, came from that, no? Napag-usapan na rin natin sa previous natin, no? A bond is simply like a notes payable. So therefore, since it is a notes payable, ito ay kailangan ayusin natin. Ito po ay pagkakautang, no? Para nag-i-issue siya ng obligation, no, sa tao na may hawak ng bonds to tell everybody, know all men by this present, na ako'y may utang sa taong ito. Ito yon, no? Kaya nga, kung makikita nyo, ito nagsimula itong ganito nung nakikita na nila na yung trade is already undergoing dramatic increases. And what happened was, yun nga, people would invest in endeavors, in projects that may yield something or may prove to be disastrous. Ito yung tipong pupunta ka sa New World, lalo na nung maayos na yung travel, no? Yung malalaking ships na ganyan, galleon trade yan, time na yan, no? So they invest in this endeavor. And so they form corporation, may mga papel, no? Siyempre dadaan yan sa banker, no? Okay, si Mr. So-and-so naghulog ng 300 pieces of silver, something like that. Or kung may pera na, di ba? 300 pounds, something like that. Ito naman, naglalagay ng ganito. And then someone accede to it, like acts as a witness, and in this case na pinag-usapan natin ngayon, yun yung bank, no? And then what happened is nag-exchange sila ng nag-exchange sila ng promise to deliver, and also uh, yung investment in return, no? So yun yung nangyayari doon, no? Okay? So ang nangyayari, ang mga corporations ano muna sila ng ganyan, no? Corporations muna, and then eventually when countries became in too deep, lalo na sa mga giyera, ganyan, then it was countries, so it were the countries doing the issuing. So in this case, yun, treasury bills. So kung titinan mo, the philosophy of it, it came to a point when the marketeers, the marketeers and the commerce people, they were the ones who made it so big. Sila yung may pera eh. And governments lose wars and therefore had to, make use of the rising power of the middle class. And wala silang choice kundi make use yun, no? So nakikita mo dyan yung the history of the world, no? Dati mga kings, mga royalty, no? Kasi nakita nila na, teka muna, capitalism is the one that's moving the world. Money is the one that moves the world, right? And therefore, they had to woo, kailangan nilang ilure yung money from the middle class. And they had to make use of this. So, lalong naging into deep, lalo na nung time ng giyera, no? Makikita niyo yan sa history, no? Na even ang so-called mga Rothschild, they were the ones who did the start, the start of the banking, conglomerates kung saan bawat country meron silang branch. So yun, example no, kung paano nagsimula yung bonds. No? So overview, it's just debt. Utang yan, no? Na meron kang promise to pay, may interest syempre because you're using the money. And also you're using, the time spent with the money. So, halimbawa, katulad dito sa example dito, $1,000 and bond matures on February 1, 2020. Well, halimbawa, February 1, 2023, earning $100 per year. So, that's 10%. Kasi 1,000 times 10%. So, imumove mo na naman yung decimal point, no? 10%. One place to the left, which is $100 per year of interest. And for example, if it is paid twice in a year, so magiging $50 every 6 months. So parang gano'n ang mangyayari sa kanya. So nag-adjust ngayon yung bonds in pricing niya because of the terms in the bonds. So noong araw, ang sinusulatan niya, yung tinatawag natin ngayon na bond paper. It's a paper that issues the bonds. Okay? Kaya ganun. Okay? Hindi siya pareho ng notes payable. Notes payable is a loan from a single creditor such as a bank. So may utang ka sa bangko, notes payable yun. Ngayon, ang bond kasi, nag-i-issue siya ng maraming denominations nun eh. So, halimbawa, kung mag-i-issue siya ng 1 million, pwede niyang mag-issue ng tig $1,000 or tig $50,000. Depende on the need, no? Minsan kasi, pag nag-offer siya, 100 billion, wala naman takers. Kasi walang pera, for example, ng mga tao. So, wala. Hindi yun na-consummate yung transaction. Balik lang yun. So, usually, the government is the one issuing that, yung mga treasury bonds. Lalo na pag kailangan ng government ng cash. No? Pero pag ang economy is awash with cash, di wala, hindi kailangan ng country ng pera. Yan. Hindi rin siya pareho ng corporate stock. Because ang corporate stock naman kasi represents ownership. Ownership naman ng company, di ba? So yun yung kagandahan naman ng ganun. So pag meron kang shares of stock, meron kang ownership naman sa corporation. So halimbawa, in this case, no, pinakita dito, if a shareholder owns 1,000 shares of the 10,000, halimbawa, ang company may 10,000 shares ng, although hindi ganito, simplistic lang itong inaibigay mo. Kung titignan nyo sa pse.com.ph, makikita mo doon kung gaano kadadami yung shares. Talagang billion siya. At 10 pesos, at 50 pesos, depende sa kanyang sharing price. So in this case, for example, if a shareholder owns 1,000 shares out of the 10,000, that means he owns 10% of the corporation's equity. Moreover, the shareholder also receives 10% of the earnings. Diba? On the other hand, ang bond, utang lang yan eh. So kung face value ng bond is $1,000, tapos ang nakalagay na nakaakibat dito 11%, kahit kumita ang company ng 8%, kung ano yung nakalagay doon na interest, yun ang mauunang babayaran yun. So, kung yan, katulad in this case, so 20-year maturity, yung bondholder, meron siyang dalawang legal right. Meron siyang 11%, in this example, 11% of the interest of the bonds maturity every year habang ang bond ay outstanding. Isa pang legal right niya is dapat ma-receive niya yung $1,000 when the bond matures in 20 years. So that's the whole idea of the bonds. Okay? So, parang lumalabas ang bonds ay assurance na makakakuha ka ng interest. Parang ganun. Again, so dito ngayon ang labanan dito ay how trustworthy is the company issuing the bonds. Okay, kaya meron diyang allowed na risk. Well, hindi allowed, kundi meron kang tinotolerate na risk. Yan yung sinasabi natin na risk tolerance. We are more or less tolerating some kind of risk here. So for example, if San Miguel is the one offering the bonds, of course, people might want to invest in that because they know San Miguel Corporation. San Miguel Corporation has been operating for what, 150 something years here in the Philippines, and known talaga siya na, good company, one of the strongest there is, in the Philippines. So when San Miguel Corporation says, I will pay 12% interest every year on these bonds na I'm issuing, then malaki yung trustworthiness niyan, no? And therefore people will invest in that. In fact, kung hindi niya kailangan ng cash, no, they can even buy yung bonds na yun at a lower rate, no? Sabihin nila, okay, not issuing 11%, the going rate of the market is at 11%, for example, but since I'm San Miguel, I'm only offering 8%. Some people might even invest in San Miguel rather than other company. Kung nag-offer din si Ayala Corporation ng 8.5%, they would even invest in Ayala Corporation at 8.5% rather than some companies they don't really trust, or medyo nakikita nila na hindi regular yung income stream, or baka merong silang volatility. Volatility means yung pagtaas baba ng price ng stocks o ng kanilang business, right? Yan. Okay? So, kaya yan nag-i-issue ng ganyan kasi nakalagay dyan, corporation needing long-term funds may consider issuing additional shares of stock o kaya mag-issue ng bonds. Pag kailangan ng cash ng company, tatlo ang choice niya actually eh. Ang isang choice niya ay mangutang sa bangko. Okay? Number 2, pwede siyang mag-issue ng additional shares of stock. Number 3, pwede siyang mag-issue ng bonds. Okay? So, anong difference sa tatlong yon? Okay, I'll give you the difference. First of all, pag nag-utang ka sa bangko, syempre may utang ka sa bangko, right? And therefore, you have to pay interest in the bank. Ngayon, kailangan mo ng collateral, no? Lalo na kung ang bangko ay katulad dito sa Philippines, you have to put collateral in the bank. Tapos, kung ang going rate ng interest ay 10%, then you will have to pay 10%. Okay? Pag hindi ka nakabayad at yung collateral mo ay on the line, then you will have to pay with your collateral. O, ang tawag doon ay dación en pago. Dación en pago. Or D-A-C-I-O-N en pago. Or, payment in kind. So, usually, hindi yan any kind. It has to be a worthwhile asset corresponding to your loan. So, anong positive, anong negative doon? Ang positive, of course, you don't have to, surrender ownership of the company. Secondly, you just owe the bank. Depende sa cash flow rate mo, yung cash flow na inflow, pwede mong planuin ang pagbabayad niyan. Right? Pwede mong i-prolong yan. Depende sa terms ng bangko. Okay? So, yun yung mga plus and minus. Anong minus doon? Anong minus dyan? Of course, you're paying interest. No? It's always a cost. You pay interest. The interest is bigger. Okay? Yun. Pag hindi ka nakabayad on time, may penalty pa. Right? So, yun. Yun ang mga negative doon. Of course, kung wala ka talagang choice, wala kang choice. No? You'll have to do that. Now, ano naman ang mangyayari pag ang ginawa mo naman ay instead of borrowing in the bank, nag-issue ka ng shares of stock. Okay, nag-issue ka ng shares of stock, therefore, ano nangyayari? Kung halimbawa, dati kayong may 1 million shares total, nag-issue ka ng bagong number of shares, which is halimbawa 10,000, ang positive doon, nagkaroon ka ng stream agad ng cash, no? 10,000 shares times yung going rate ng market. Kung halimbawa, $10 ka o 10 pesos ka pala per share, then 10,000 times 10, right? Ganun kalaki yung kinita mo. Yun yung plus, no? Minus, ang negative doon is of course, na-dilute yung earnings ng company. Yung share mo sa earnings na-dilute. So kung dati, 1 million shares, naging 1,010,000 shares. So yung divisor niya mas lumaki. And therefore, kung ang income mo ay pareho lang, hindi lalaki, parang lumiit ang earnings per share mo dyan. And pag lumiit ang earnings per share, bababa usually ang presyo niyan. Okay? Nagiging na siya ngayon hindi masyadong lucrative investment. Yun naman ang negative sa additional shares. Lalo pa, ang hirap dyan, pag nagba-buyback ka, gusto mong bilhin yung shares na inisyo mo, no? Ayaw na ngayon magbenta. O yun, di ba? You have to offer a tender offer na mas malaki kaysa sa going rate ng market. So yun yung mga ano yan. So again, number 1, pwede kang mangutang sa bangko. Number 2, pwede kang mag-additional shares. Number 3, pwede kang mag-issue ng bonds. Ano naman ang positive dyan? Ang positive dyan is, in a way, parang kang best of both worlds. Number 1, nag-issue ka ng shares, no? Ng bonds. Nag-issue ka ng bonds, utang lang yun eh. So therefore, parang ka ng utang pero sa individual people. And you are the ones dictating your interest. Considering na kayo ay maganda yung reputation ng company. Okay? Yung tinatawag nating survivorship ng company, yung kaya niya mag-survive. Okay? Pag malaki ang trustworthiness index nyo, and therefore marami mag-i-invest sa inyo, malamang marami kang makuha mga cash tungkol doon. Ano negative yan? Of course, nagbabayad ka ng interest. Pero ang kagandahan naman doon, mababa ang interest mo. Depende sa iyong reputation. Now, what if walang bumibili ng bonds mo? Yon, doon ngayon ikaw nag-a-adjust yan. Baka mamaya yung pricing mo mali. Baka naman ang liit ng interest rate mo. Ang going on rate na ng interest ay 15%. Ikaw magbibigay ka ng 10 or 12. Walang bibili sa'yo kasi malaki na yung interest rate. Eh. Ang kagandahan naman sa treasury bonds is, of course, pag ayaw mo na, alam mo, gusto mo na siyang i-retrieve, pwede mong bayaran yon, di ba? Pwede kang mag-pre-terminate, kumbaga. Sa bangko, may charge yun. Pero usually sa bonds, nagbabayad ka ng premium at a premium rate, pero at least hindi ka na kailangang over and above. So yun, usually ginagawa yan. Okay? So, dito ata binigyan ng example, no? So, kung mapapansin nyo rito, yung corporation finance expansion through bonds or stocks, Plan A, earnings before bond interest and income tax 1 million. So, pareho sila, no? Ngayon, ang Plan B, deduct interest expense. O yan, nagkaroon siya ng interest. So, minus 200,000, 800,000. Deduct income taxes. So, in this case, 40% yung kanyang rate. 40% of 800,000 is 320,000. Net income is 480,000. Now, ang Plan B income per share, which is 300,000 shares kunwari, example, no, because nakakuha ng 300,000 shares, 480,000 divided by 300,000, that means $1.60. Sa Plan A, before bond interest and income tax, 1 million. Interest expense, wala. Income before corporation income tax, 1 million. Deduct income taxes of 400,000. Yung net income mo would be 600,000. And ang income mo per share sa 500,000 shares ay $1.20. Ayan. So, dyan mo makikita, yung Plan B, magre-result ng greater income per share because the bond's interest lowered the tax burden by $60,000. So, bumaba yung tax burden niya. Kasi mas malaki yung value sa kabila eh. Okay? So, governments and corporations issue a variety of bonds with different characteristics and cash flow. Okay, ano ibig sabihin ng discount bond in figure 2? It is simplest to associate, to calculate, I mean. Discount bond is a treasury bill issued by the government. For example, the treasury bill is the face value of $10,000, which you call T-bills. Discount bonds will have an interest rate listed on them. Walang interest rate. The US government sells the T-bills at a discount or a lower price reflects the market interest rate. So parang binili nila yung slot tapos in-offer nila sa mas maliit na halaga. Yan. A picture of a treasury bill, for example, the US federal government sold the T-bill to you for 9,500, then the present value becomes the market price. Kung magkano yung value niya sa current price. So subsequently, the federal government will repay you $10,000 after this instrument matures on October 10, 2013. Yung $500 difference reflects the interest on the loan. Ayan. So investors and analysts also calculate what we call the yield to maturity, YTM, yield to maturity, the return of an investment, yield to maturity. So yield to maturity reflects an investor's profit from a security that is similar to an interest rate. Parang interest rate din naman. Tapos, we calculated the yield to maturity of 5.26% in equation 1 if the bond's face value equals $10,000 while the market value is 9,500 with a maturity of 1 year. So, ano yung sabihin yan? Present value is equal to the future value over 1 plus YTM. Okay, yung yield to maturity. So, 9,500 is equal to 10,000, okay, divided by 1 plus YTM. So, ano yung 1 plus YTM? 1 plus YTM, actually cross-multiply ito, 9,500 times 1 plus YTM, tapos i-divide mo yung 10,000 doon. So, 10,000 divided by 9,500, and you will have 5.26%. Yan. Yield to maturity. So, meron kang 5% na kinikita every year. So, ganun lang naman ang valuation ng bonds, ng stocks. Well, bonds pa lang ito, no? Ayan. So, if a discount bond, if a discount bond has a maturity less than 1 year, then the time subscript remains 1 year. However, we adjust the yield to maturity to annual term. So, ibig sabihin, kung isa ay less than 1 year, i-adjust mo ngayon yung rate of interest. So, halimbawa, in this case, kung ang example ay yield to maturity is 180 days, therefore, we calculate in the same way, nevertheless, we apply the rate of return by 2, kasi 365 days divided by 180 is approximately 2. So, in our case, yung 5.26 magiging 10.52%. interest. Okay? So again, sa ibang mga tao, ito ay hindi masyadong binibigyan na ng halagang computation. Kasi ang importante sa kanila naman dyan, kumita yung pera nila eh. However, since tayo ay nasa academics, kailangan natin makita kung paano kinocompute ang interest rate. Ngayon, ang mahalaga dito, maintindihan ninyo to. Kasi doon nyo makikita saan ba ilalagay saan ba ito ilalagay, yung pera na to ng boss ko or company. Diba? Siyempre, doon mas malaki ang rate of interest. So in this case, for example, no, discount bond, hirap naman ng dito. So dito na tayo na lang sa may several bonds with different characteristics. So we have registered bonds. Corporation registers the names and addresses of the bondholders. So most corporation register bonds because the registration protects the investors from loss or theft of the bonds. So yun, ang usually kaya register yung bonds. No? Yun naman yun. Bearer bonds, the one who possesses the bonds receive the interest payment. Yan. Mga coupon bonds, yan, usually bearer bonds yan. Kasi naka-declare na kung magkano yun, tapos kung sino may holder, yun. Meron din tayong tinatawag na debenture bonds. Debenture bonds. So debenture bonds naman are unsecured bonds. Ibig sabihin ng unsecured bonds, wala security yun, di ba? Kaya nga unsecured. Yung corporation does not pledge asset for the bond issues. A corporation must be financially strong to issue these bonds because these bonds rely on the corporation. Yung sinasabi ko kanina, nakarelay yan sa credit standing. Ngayon, usually naman, ang mga nag-o-offer ng mga ganyan, talagang malaking company, no? Diba, PLDT might offer that. O kaya, First Philippine Holdings, ng mga companies na nag-offer niyan. Okay? Municipal bonds, yan. City and county government issue municipal bonds to finance local projects. Sa atin wala nito eh, pero usually sa mga federal government, usually may ganito. No? So dito naman kung paano ko na-compute yung yield to maturity. So paano ko na-compute yun? So halimbawa, in this case example, no? If you want to buy a coupon bond today for a market price of $1,600, okay? Bond pays 400 interest per year and matures in 3 years. Finally, bond pays $100,000 on maturity date. Okay, paano ginagawa yan? So 1,600, di ba? 1,600 yung coupon bond today for a market price of 1,600, tapos nagbabayad ka ng 400 per year. So, ayan yung 1,600 kasi present value equals 400 y plus y, 1 plus ytm, okay? To the 1, kasi ibig sabihin ito yung next year. 2 years from now, we'll have $400, again, the same. 1 plus ytm raised to the 2. And then, third year, 400 plus $1,000 plus 1 plus ytm raised to the third power. So, pag tinignan mo yan, kinumpit mo lahat yan, ang yield to maturity niyan ay 14.11%. So, in this case, no, nagiging complicated nga naman yung calculation. No? If I calculate the discount rate manually, you might calculate the PV for selecting various rates. Pwedeng 0, pwedeng 5, pwedeng 10, pwedeng 20. O kaya pwede kayo mag-insert ng particular mong discount rate and then i-adjust mo na lang. Yun ang kagandahan, no? Pag nasa Excel to, i-adjust mo na lang yung percentage kung para malaman mo yung 14%. Yan. So because of yield to maturity, meron kang generate na dalawang important rules on bonds. Ano yon? Market interest rate and the market price. Yung market interest rate, yung yield to maturity, at saka yung market price, yung present value of the securities are inversely related. Inversely. So yung isa mataas, yung mababa. So for example, if you examine the present value formula, the interest rate or yield is located in the denominator. Nasa ilalim siya ng factor. Thus, the market price falls as the interest rate rises. Habang tumataas sa interest rate, napupunta sa interest rate bumaba naman yung isa, yung present value. If a bond has a shorter maturity, subsequently its price will fluctuate less for a change in the market interest rate. So, ibig sabihin, pag masyadong may problema, yung company, o kaya siya mismo ay ayaw na niyang mag-offer, no? Bigla na lang silang nagsara ng isang planta, whatever. Usually, pag nagkakaganon, nagpa-fluctuate kasi yung interest rate. At pag maikli yung maturity niya, no, 30 days, whatever, nagpa-fluctuate siya ng less kasi nga, ang lapit lang ng maturity. Pero pag mataas yung number of years, siyempre, natural, mas maraming chance na mag-fluctuate siya. Okay? So, yun po ang dahilan. Kaya, may mga iba, kanya-examine din to para malaman mo kung, dito, in example, no, yung isa, 1.16, isa, di ba? Short lang, kasi 1 year lang Yung isa, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, hanggang 10th year. So kami dadagdag yung $5,000 na idano mo, no? Binayad mo. Ito na yung principal Pag tinignan mo yan, 3,550 lang yung kanyang present value. So if you want to pay this, all of this, in the next 10 years, then the present value is just 2,550 today. Samantalang ito, 4,741.38. Yun. Starting today, tomorrow, and until mag-mature yan. Yan, ano naman ang ibig sabihin ng capital gain? Ang capital gain, from the word itself, nag-gain yung capital mo, and therefore, natatax yun. Kaya, dapat hindi mo na napapakita yung nag-gain ka ng capital. Kasi kung di may capital gains tax ka dyan. So a bond, for example, is a face value of $2,000 with a coupon interest rate of 5% at 10-year maturity. You bought this bond for $2,000 and then resold it for $2,400. Nagkaroon ka ng 2 taon ng interest. Okay? Consequently, your return of return equals to 2 years of interest plus the capital gain of 14.33%. Bakit naging ganyan? 14.33% results from 2,400 minus 2,000. Okay? And then divided by yung face value na 2,000. Of course, depende din sa length of time na ginugol mo for that. So 400 divided by 2,000 is about 1 over 5. 1 over 5. 1 over 5. So 20%. 20%. Yun. So in this case, makikita mo na yung rate of interest is lower, no? Lower. Yan, 14.30. What's ka na, sir? So yung capital loss naman is something similar. Negative naman to on this side. Ang nangyari doon is, imbis na lumaki ang financial security mo, nagsimula ng $2,000, inold mo yun for 2 years, tapos may 5% ka dapat na interest rate, no? Pero nung binenta mo, lumiit, $1,000 na lang. So, kukumpitin mo yan this way, yan, no? And then compute for R. Ayan, ito ngayon na magiging subject ng ating paano magko-compute. Okay, valuation of capital gains or capital loss. Bigay tayo ng mga examples dyan. Okay? So, valuation of stocks, halos ganun din naman, no? Pero sa totoong buhay, ito nga yung sinasabi ko Ito yung gusto nating malaman, ito yung gusto nating i-impose na value ng stocks. However, sa tunay na buhay, hindi naman yun yung sinasabi ng market. Because as I said, yung previous outing, merong visible hand ang market, no? So, nade-determine yan. So whatever you are saying here, mga valuation, yung mga rightful na value ng company, these are just reference, no? Ang nagmamatter pa rin is yung gusto ng buyer at saka gusto ng seller. Pag nagkatama yun, ay di yun, no? But it pays also to understand saan ang gagaling yung theoretical pricing. Okay? So ang investor values his stock P sub 0 at time 0, meaning price niya at present time is P sub 0. Present 1, sabihin next year, di ba? So magkakaroon na siya ng interest. Yun ang ibig sabihin nun. So pag naging ito mangyayari na P sub O is equal to D1, okay, over 1 plus R, T2, 1 plus R squared. So parang ganun din yung kanina natin. So ang nangyari dito ay yung P sub 2 over 1 plus R raised to square ay napunta na sa kanan. No? Sinasubstitute po kasi yung equation 13 sa equation 12. Okay, ano yung equation 12? Ito po yung equation 12. Yan. If P sub 0 is equal to that, D over R1, 1 plus R, and then P over 1 plus R. We continue to hanggang sa dumating ka sa sequence na yan. Ito yung sequence, no? Nagkakaroon ka ng sequence, P sub 0 is equal to D over 1 plus R plus D sub 2 over 1 plus R squared plus D sub 3 over 1 plus R cubed. So kung nagbibigay siya ng pareho na dividend niya, yung by the way, yung D is dividend, subsequently, yung market price becomes a perpetuity. Ang tawag doon ay perpetuity. Nagbibigay ka kasi through yearly, no? Until such a time na siya ay, wala na talaga company. So kaya nagiging siyang D over R. Kasi yung 1 plus R, 1 plus R squared, plus 1 over 1 plus R cubed, yun. Nagiging yan nagda-diverge, converge yan into 1 over R. Because all the D's are the same. Yan. So if you purchase a stock for a long-term investment, your annual rate of return is 5%. And you expect the corporation to pay $2 per share indefinitely. Yan. So kung yung naman is $40, kung 5%, 2 over 0.05 is equal to $40. So dito yung sinasabi ko kanina. So if you want to know the market value of the stock for 1 year, then this becomes a trick question. Siyempre, alam mo nag-earn siya ng same dividend. Ito pa ang isa dito, no? Sometimes the dividend, meron akong na presentation na why dividends are a bomb. Usually, if you're into capital gains and capital appreciation, then hindi mo pinapansin ang dividends kasi maliit lang yun eh. Right? So, many investors want their dividends to grow over time. Totoo naman yun, no? Halimbawa, no, kung daw ikaw pala ay bumili ng Philip Morris before, no? Sana yung price mo na binili, yun na ngayon yung quarterly dividend ng Philip Morris sa mga investors niya. So instead of getting it, yung pinay mo, no? After some time, it's a long time actually, then you receive that money as monthly payment, quarterly payment. Ayun. Kasi nga mahaba na yung kanyang oras na ginugol. Again, dito may nakalagay dito. For instance, you purchase stock as a long-term investment, your rate of return equals 10%, and you expect the corporation to pay $2 dividend that grows 5% per year. However, ito yung gusto mong mangyari, pero hindi mo nga ma-dictate yan eh. Ang sinasabi lang dito, theoretically, yung pricing model, dapat ganyan ang mangyayari. Pero hindi naman ganun na nangyayari. Doon mo malalaman kung compared to a dividend of this, magkano dapat ang magiging price niya sa market. However, mas maraming factors Meron nga mga hindi nagre-release ng dividend, yet mataas pa rin ang presyo niya. Di ba? Paano yun? And yung mga market value na yan depends really on what we call yung market forces, yung tinatawag natin speculation ng market, yung willingness ng mga tao to buy at a certain level. So example, Jollibee has been, kung tutusin, no, has been considered by value investors, especially me, for example. I know it's value investing wise. Ang price earnings niya napakataas lagi, no, nasa high 30s. Pero nagsimula yan 1990s, 19 pesos lang sa per share, naging 100 and so on. So ibig sabihin, regardless of the pricing model that you're talking about, no? Pag ang company ay mataas ang reputation, then it has an added pad of trust worthiness, and therefore the public is willing to pay more. Okay, so meron tayong present value formula rito, dalawang component yan. Meron tayong tinatawag na non-steady state. Ang non-steady state, edi siyempre hindi yan nagkakaroon ng pataas na cash flow, no? So we use the present value to write out all the cash flows when the dividend growth rate is not constant. Non-steady state occurs for a new corporation. New corporation, hindi mo masyadong alam ang kanyang performance and therefore wala kang steady state theory dyan. Parang universe yun eh. Steady state theory means hindi mo alam kung ano susunod na cash flow niya. Cash flow may mean dividend on your side, or in the case naman ng company, it can mean the earnings per share na eventually, can be distributed. So steady state, from the word itself, steady, lumataas siya. No? The corporation begins paying dividends over time that increase at a constant rate. This occurs after the corporation become mature. Ang tawag doon, pag nagmamature na, nagiging siyang cash cow. Okay, nagsisimula kasi ang lahat, sa Boston Consulting Group, nagsisimula siya, tinatry niya maging star. Maging star, ibig sabihin ko, konti yung kanyang market share pa, pero gusto niyang tumaas yung kanyang sales. No? Okay? Tapos, yung demand mataas. And then eventually, mapupunta yan sa star, and pag ikaw ay nagkamali doon, may iwan ka dito sa kabilang side, yan naman ay question mark. So, tingnan niyo yun, Boston Consulting Group. Pag ikaw ay nasa baba dito, mataas yung growth ng industry niyan, pero ikaw naman wala kang share, nagiging siyang dogs. Yeah, you keep the dogs, you keep the stars, you convert the question mark to stars, and you also uplift the value of the cash cow. Kasi yung cash cow will always be there to give you cash. Kaya nga siya cash cow. Yan. Yan po. Okay, so again, we will not go so much into the valuation of the stocks because as I said, kahit anong sabihin mo rito, kung ano naman yung tingin ng market, yun yung nangyayari. Okay? So, we take this with a grain of salt, but we have to understand paano ba nako-compute yung theoretical pricing of the stock. Pero, again, ask any person na nag-invest sa stock market. Usually, pag ang pinag-uusapan ay capital gains, siyempre mas natutuwa ka doon. Dati mo binili ng 20, naging 40 na, nagdoble, right? Pero ask them about dividends. Some people would be excited about it, but most people will not. And ang gusto talaga nila ay capital gains. Kasi ang liit lang nun ang liit lang ng dividends. So therefore, in that case, you don't actually accumulate the dividends and build that as a pricing model. Ang nangyayari doon ay tinitingnan mo yung capital appreciation niya through the years. So maglalagay ka ng, okay, what if yung price ng binili ko $10, magiging siyang $20 in 5 years? So ano yung aking tinatawag na cumulative rate of return? Yun, that's it. So, yan po yung lesson natin for today. I hope na may natutunan kayo. Hopefully, sana ay kayo ay natuto at yung ating mga susunod nating pag-aaral, we will continue with this. So, yun lang po. Maraming salamat. See you next time.